afternoon, everyone. We are here to consider House Study Bill 664, legislation which would strike the limitation and prohibit cities and local governments from enacting any ordinance or other law which is broader or has different categories from the Civil Rights Act on the state level. Joining me on this subcommittee today, Representative Wilburn and Representative Wheeler. A couple ground rules. We're going to give 2 minutes for each person to speak. And during that time, there will be no disruption tolerated of any kind, no clapping, no finger snapping, no disruption of speakers. If that happens, you will be escorted out of the room. And that's it. We will have a civil discourse in this room. At this time, again, I'm Representative Holt, Representative Wilbur, Representative Wheeler. If someone would like to begin speaking, we'll start right here. 2 minutes, okay? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the subcommittee. I'm Molly Severn, Legislative Liaison for Governor Reynolds. With me today, I have Sam Thompson, Legal Counsel for the Governor. As Representative Holt mentioned, this bill amends Iowa Civil Rights Code to require that cities and counties can only have local ordinances in the protected classes allowed at the state level. Thank you for your consideration today of the bill.
Thank you.
Keenan Crowe, One Iowa. We are registered against this bill. Want to remind everybody that the rationale offered for the previous removal of Iowa civil rights was that we couldn't possibly have gender identity in the Iowa Code lest it overrides some other policies that Republicans have pushed for. Yet now, this wouldn't put a gender identity in the Iowa Code. It would have had no impact on the other policies which are already preempted by state law. The only reason to do this is to take the Iowa Civil Rights Act and flip it on its head. As originally envisioned, the Civil Rights Act was a floor for communities to build off of, a minimum set of requirements that municipalities could then expand upon to respond to the issues within their individual communities. We have now turned it into a ceiling to limit communities to a maximum of what the state says they can do. This is not about transgender issues at all. It is about any concern, whether it be veterans issues, disability issues, or otherwise, that local leaders used to have the ability to implement at the local level without politicians in Des Moines tying their hands. I have a letter here from Ashley Benorny, who's a Cedar Rapids City Council member, the last president of the Iowa League of Cities, and the director of the National League of Cities. She writes, in part, Cedar Rapids has demonstrated for generations that inclusion and economic success go hand in hand. Our city's motto, welcome is our language, is not merely aspirational. It is a proven strategy for community vitality, economic competitiveness, and population growth. Restricting local civil rights authority or eliminating the ability of cities to exceed the Iowa Civil Rights Act would undermine this progress, weaken home rule, and limit the tools communities need to foster safety, fairness, and prosperity. I respectfully urge you to reject any proposal that diminishes local civil rights authority and to preserve the ability of Iowa cities to protect their residents and drive inclusive economic growth. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there someone here who would like to speak in favor of the bill? Go ahead. 2 minutes, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is Danny Carroll with the Family Leader. We're registered in favor of this legislation and would encourage it moving forward. Mr. Chairman, in the course of government over many years, many of us have been involved in state and local government to county, city level, school board. Frequently, issues of public policy come up where there may be some question or some dispute between the area of jurisdiction, whether it be the state or the counties or the cities. With 99 different counties and over 900 different towns and communities, it does make sense that certain issues would have broad and consistent application across the state and not vary from one community to the next or from one county to the next. You need to use your imagination to come up with numerous examples where that consistency is important, if not vital, to the well-being of the state of Iowa. In the area of civil rights, it seems that qualifies for that general application across the state of Iowa. Civil rights not subject to local, county, and city discretion. It should be the role of the state. I would remind listeners that this is the United States of America, not the United Counties, not the United Cities. We are states. There are policies, procedures, and application of those in the litigation and the enforcement of those policies that depend on statewide consistency. I think it makes good sense to adopt this bill in pursuit of that consistency. Thank you.
Thank you. Who is next? Who would like to speak next? Go ahead, ma'am.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Wendy Abrahamson. I'm an Episcopal priest, and I'm a registered lobbyist for the Episcopal Diocese of Iowa, and we've declared opposition to this bill. We believe in a God who has planted a divine image into every single human being, no matter their color, no matter their language, no matter their gender identity, no matter their sexual orientation, no matter their citizenship. In fact, every single human being has God's holy image imprinted. And so every single human being must be treated with dignity and honor and respect. And we believe that this would limit that and, in fact, suppress the ability for a location that wishes to treat people honorably and recognizing how holy they are right now. Iowans in local areas should be free to have that kind of expression and to say that they are a place that recognizes God's divinity in every single person. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead.
My name is Katie Freeman. I am trans and was elected by the community in Coralville to serve as the newly elected city councilor. I'm here to ask you to support local control and stop this government overreach. The role of the city council is very important, and decisions made there directly impact people's daily lives more than most individuals are aware of. City council can be nimble and respond relatively quickly to needs as they arise within the community. With this understanding, first, just as a Coralville resident, I began letting the council know about the concerns I had for the 2025 state legislative session. I was glad to see Coralville had a human rights ordinance that already included gender identity as a protected class, which had been in place along with Johnson County since 2007. The concern was that the Republican-led 2025 state legislature would remove gender identity as a protected class statewide, potentially affecting local ordinances such as the one in Coralville. More members of the community began to show up at council meetings sharing the same concern as mine. The 2025 legislation was bad enough, but this bill continues the overreach right into my town. A community, a city, a county have a right to self-govern based on the needs of their individual community. If you are unwilling to recognize the value of protecting gender identity at a state level, let the communities, cities, towns that understand that value do so on their own. Stop this overreach and do not move this bill forward. And just so it's said in this room, trans rights are human rights.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak in favor before we move on? Go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
Anyone else? Otherwise, I'm not sure who is here next, so why don't we just go around? Go ahead, sir.
Thank you for your public service. My name is the Reverend Steve Seek. I serve First Unitarian Church of Des Moines. People have a remarkable ability for cognitive dissonance around civil rights. Jefferson wrote that all men are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, while he himself enslaved men. Cognitive dissonance. The men who served in your role 120 years ago pledged themselves to prize liberties and maintain rights while excluding women from that conversation. 80 years ago, the white people who served in your role pledged themselves to these same liberties and rights while supporting Jim Crow-style laws. Last year, the legislative body here took the rare step of actually removing civil rights from a category of people. And if the measure of a law's moral worth is how much it supports the flourishing of all God's people, that law was immoral. And some communities have responded to reclaim these rights and liberties for their citizens, which brings us to today. The cognitive dissonance of claiming conservative principles while dictating to community what it must do, the cognitive dissonance of claiming liberties and rights while stripping them from people, all of which is to say it is not too late. It is never too late to repent and incline our hearts toward love, to the flourishing of all God's creation, to the rights and liberties of all Iowans. This bill was born in injustice. Please let it die.
Who's next? Go ahead.
My name is Cynthia Passion. I have a home in Story County and a farm in Hamilton. And I would urge you to turn this down. I want to tell you a real quick story about what happened in Ames the night the city council discussed what you're talking about. I have this tribe of women in Ames who I love with my whole heart. They all have transgender children. And if you want to fight with a woman, take us on. We're there. We showed up that night. We told our city council members, do this for our children. Babies who were born in Ames, Iowa. Babies who don't feel welcome in Ames, Iowa. Because of you guys. So at one point, one of the city council members said, can everybody stand up if they want us to do this tonight? They want us to protect our trans, our gay, our queer friends, our kids. We all stood up. There wasn't a single person in the room who wanted this. And I don't think there's a whole lot of people in here who want this. So please don't put this forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Who's next? Go ahead.
My name is Sean McRoberts. I'm a pastor, and I'm from Iowa City. I urge you to abandon this bill, or else you are abandoning your constituents, your neighbors, your pastors, your kids, and your own soul. In restricting local civil rights ordinances, you are inviting discrimination against trans people. You are welcoming employers to reject candidates. You are encouraging businesses to deny service. You are actively worsening the crisis of homelessness among transgender young people. You explicitly said, Representative Holt, you explicitly said last year that you needed to remove civil rights protections in order to pass additional legislation that would harm trans people and push us out of public life. Make no mistake, this bill will lead to the death of trans people in Iowa. When you attacked trans people last year, I organized with my friends and neighbors to affirm and strengthen local civil rights ordinances. When the state abandoned us, our local leaders responded, providing remedy for discrimination. Now you want to undo our work, but it is your efforts that are wasted, because we're still here, and we always will be. You can't get rid of trans people through your laws. We will always exist in every town and in families across the state. We will never forget your bigoted attempts to discriminate us to death. But don't you forget that we will always find one another and thus survive and thrive.
Thank you. Go ahead.
My name is Ethan Falscraft. I'm here on my own behalf. I hope you will allow me to betray a bit of emotion. I just buried my grandfather this weekend. He was a good, kind, and gentle man, a reverend who was preaching through the AIDS epidemic of the 80s. I was reading through several of his sermon manuscripts from that era yesterday, and I was touched by how often he preached tolerance, love, and understanding in a time where so many were consumed by fear and blind hatred. For this reason and so many others, I am deeply offended that in the year of our Lord 2026, following the first rollback of civil rights protections in our state's history, we have a bill in the state of Iowa that seeks to continue limiting these protections rather than expanding them. The role of government in a functioning society is to both properly allocate resources and to provide protections to those without means, the people, from those that would otherwise take advantage of us. To evoke Reagan, that primarily and no other. Conservative politicians have long told their constituents that they are in favor of small government, leaving as much freedom as possible to the individual and lower legislative bodies. Instead, this bill would wrest control from local governments who would provide additional codified protections to their citizens, and instead consolidates that power to the state of Iowa. Who does this bill help? I cannot believe that you can look your constituents in the eyes, that you can look at yourselves in the mirror and recommend passage of this bill. Stop being the dog chasing the culture war car and start acting in the interests of your constituents. Do your jobs. Recommend against the passage of this bill.
Thank you. Go ahead.
My name is Teresa Bosting. I'm a resident of Des Moines, and relevant to this discussion, much of my legal career was devoted to enforcing the Iowa Civil Rights Act. This is the provision in this bill, in this law that you're seeking to strike, has been on the books for 60 years, and it has not caused any problem between state and municipalities having inconsistent provisions. I can specifically recall there were some municipalities who, over the last 20, 30 years, had issues with their Section 8 vouchers. Landlords in those cities were refusing to accept those vouchers for housing in those municipalities. And the cities, the municipalities, responded to that problem, their particular city problem, by adding to their municipal civil rights codes a provision prohibiting denial of housing based on source of income. That was a local issue addressed by a local city council in their own ordinance, and it presented no problem for the state. Localities know their particular issues, and they know how to respond to them, and the businesses in those communities know how to seek out their own permitting, their occupancy, their zoning requirements. They're not confused about where the law is. And I urge you to vote against this change to the act. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead.
My name's Jane Robinette. I live in Urbandale, and I'm a member of the Urbandale Civil Rights Commission. My comments are my own, and they don't represent the commission or the city of Urbandale. For 18 years, Urbandale has included gender identity in its civil rights ordinance. The Iowa Civil Rights Act allows cities to protect their residents against broader or different categories of unfair or discriminatory practices than state law provides. Communities across Iowa vary widely. This one-size-fits-all preemption bill.
Excuse me just a moment. So I'd like to hear what you have to say, and I'm sure what you're saying is supported by what the folks are that are protesting out there. So if we could get them to quieten down, otherwise we'll sit here for 10 minutes because I can't hear you. Okay, so hold on just a minute, please. And also, if you could just speak up as best you can so we can hear, that would be great. Thank you. Go ahead.
This one-size-fits-all preemption bill undermines the freedom of local elected officials to protect their own community's residents, whose needs they understand more than the state legislature. This bill also harms the ability of city residents to freely secure housing and employment where they want, to obtain vital services and more, and inhibits their right to petition their local city council for civil rights policies that fit their unique community. For 18 years, all residents of Urbandale have enjoyed these civil rights protections. We should not be forced to carve out one group of residents from that protection. And which group will be next on the state legislature's chopping block? Please uphold the freedom of voters and their elected local officials to protect all of their residents from discrimination. Please reject this bill. Thank you.
Go ahead, sir.
I rise in support of this bill, and I want to commend.
I'm sorry, can you identify yourself just for the record?
My name is Gary Leffler from
Thank
Altoona, Iowa.
Thank you.
I rise in support of this bill, and I want to commend Representative Steve Holt for bringing this forward. He's a man of courage. He's a man of service. I think of the men and women who have served our country to give and support the rights of every American in our country and every Iowan in our state. And I highly commend you for what you're doing. I think it's the right thing to do. We all have to come to the point where people's rights, my rights stop where your rights start. Your rights stop where my rights start. And we have to respect one another. We have to treat each other with respect, and we have to have laws that will enforce that and that will bring that to the forefront. So I rise in support of this, and I thank Brother Steve Holt for doing this, and for Schuyler and the Republicans for bringing this forward and righting a wrong. And it's about time, and thank you.
Thank you. We got time, I think, for two more speakers. So who is next?
I'm the Reverend Heather Walkendorf. I serve a church in Urbandale. I grew up in Adel, attending Republican meetings with my grandmother. I always watched the Republicans talk about how big government hurt people, that the cities needed to be in control. And what I see is the Republicans bringing forward a bill that actually reverses decades of policy. As a person of faith, the two commandments that I follow above all others are do unto others as I would have done unto myself. And what Jesus told us, the two greatest commandments are to love God and to love our neighbor. People who are governing know how to love their neighbors best. They know what the needs of their neighbors are, and they can help when the state government has failed them. As a person of faith, I trust my leaders to do what is right. I have put my faith into you as those who are elected to serve the people of Iowa. So I ask you to please continue to allow the local governments to do what is right for their neighbors. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead, last one.
Hello. Okay. Hi, my name is Autumn, and I represent the community in the disabled community of Iowa, and also I'm president of the International that deals with law and justice. So, okay, I know you guys told me that you are just going after immigrants and gay community, but I'm sorry, honestly, I don't believe you because there's something like similar to this happened last year. You guys were attacking Section 504. You did. And you said, oh, no, this is for transgender, gay, community people. We're just trying to take away their rights. No. That's not it. Because if you take that away from them, that means us too, the disabled community, to realize that. For example, if you take away civil rights here, that goes for deaf and disabled community too. Because it's like domino effect. You start with those immigrants, gay people, and who's next? Deaf and disabled community, and I will not stand for it. You hurt my community, I'm gonna fight back because we did not ask to be disabled. We deserve our rights. Even we have gay, deaf people, disabled and Native American who happen to like Hispanic people who get kidnapped by ICE. By the way, oh yeah, 3 of my Native deaf friends, they're gone, they're missing, they're kidnapped by ICE. Why? Because they don't like Mexican. Where's their rights? And what really kills me, why do you guys hate us so much? What do we do to you? We spent centuries fighting for our rights. To know what year we've been out of our rights?
Time. Thank you.
2008.
Time. Thank you. What's it over? Go ahead.
Not joke.
Okay, first of all, thank you everybody for being here, so thank you. Mr. Chair, I do want to just thank you for the respect you've shown me as a fellow soldier, someone who served our country and has a different viewpoint than you on this particular issue. I'm also a African American, predominantly, and civil rights has been part of my past and protections investigations. If I'm not supportive of this, I wasn't supportive of the effort to take gender identity out of the Iowa Code last year. If the basis for that and for this is the Supreme Court case about higher education that decision was specific to higher education about race-conscious affirmative action policies in their admissions. It also said, the majority said that a discussion of someone's how their race affected their life, whether it's discrimination, inspiration, or otherwise, that is allowable. It just cannot specifically be based on race. So there's some flexibility in their decision, even though it created some misunderstandings, confusion, I would say. The court did not specifically ban affirmative action in the workplace, and I'll get there. My point being in bringing up the affirmative action case, those are based on civil rights, and this is based on taking civil rights away from local decision about tailoring local civil rights legislation to their communities, because folks in those communities, they live, work there, they know and are able to pivot and respond. And so while the Supreme Court allowed for alternative measures there, I think that we should, while the whole discussion about civil rights and affirmative action is being debated, discussed, and litigated, that we should continue to allow some flexibility at the local level, because it's contextualized. We know what's happening there. We know if a particular community is having issue with housing, we heard about that, employment, then it allows people at the local level to respond based on whatever issues they are facing, because Iowa cities are not the same. I served at the local level in Iowa City and was proud of their historic support of making sure that there's no discrimination for anyone based at that local level. I'm proud of the city of Ames that I live in and represent now, that have been doing the same thing. I don't support this going forward. If there are constitutional efforts or considerations behind this, at some point, maybe we can chat about that so I can try and better understand. But I ask for you to allow the flexibility at the local level while all of this is being sorted out through the courts in terms of the broader issue of affirmative action and civil rights. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Representative Wheeler.
Thank you. I'm actually going to come at this a different angle. I want people to really think about this. You want 1,000 different civil rights codes. That's what you're asking for, is 1,000 different. You want a different one in each city. So a town like Albert that I represent is going to have a different code than Des Moines. Think about how difficult that would be to manage. Think about all the different things that could be thrown into those civil rights codes. It is very fitting for the state to say this is what it's going to be in the state of Iowa, and you're going to follow it, whether you're a city, a county, or whatever it might be. So I'm happy to move it on and continue the discussion.
Thank you. I don't have the time to rebut a number of things that were said today regarding things I said last year that were not accurate, because I didn't make the statements that were suggested today. We removed gender identity as a protected class from the Iowa Civil Rights Code to ensure equal rights for everyone, and today that is the case. Transgender Iowans have exactly the same rights as everyone else in the state of Iowa. Very concerned, as I said before, you will be removed for disruption. So we did preemption on Second Amendment because we didn't want a patchwork of ordinances across the state regarding Second Amendment. I think the same thing is the case here. On the state level, we said participation in sports and schools has to be based on biology of birth to protect the rights of women, actual women. Whereas, if you have local ordinances that say otherwise, what is the school supposed to do? What is the conflict? What kind of confusion is that going to create? The same thing with our prohibitions that changing facilities and bathroom use must be based on biology at birth. So I think having a patchwork of different ordinances really creates a lot of confusion for businesses. It creates a lot of confusion for schools. We did what we did last year to ensure equal rights for everyone, and that is what we're doing here today. So we will be advancing this legislation to the full committee. Thank you for coming today.